Hey, Side Nation, what's going on? Happy Tuesday or Wednesday, depending where you're at in the world. Hopefully, you all got some food in you, or breakfast, dinner. If you're on the other side of the earth, I hope you had a great night's rest. And don't let what happened today in the market affect you. As always, every single day is a new day. Every single trade is a new trade. That means that you start every single trade as if it was your first and at zero. Therefore, you don't let the weight of the previous trades weigh upon you, whether it's win or losses, right? We can talk about that a little bit more in another video, but let's get straight to it. So what you are seeing in front of you right now is SPY on the daily time frame. There's a lot of stuff on the right side of the chart, so it's kind of hidden and whatnot. We will release this a little bit later so you can see what's going on. But let's just focus on what we see in front of us on this whole entire thing. Not much has changed, right? Today was an inside day, so we actually have a double inside day. We actually missed a two down by fractions of a cent, right? Or not fractions of a dollar, right? A few cents, I think 3 or 4 cents. We missed a two down, which is fine, right? That just means that we are getting ready for a move. It's going to happen, right? I've not seen ever SPY make a triple inside day. I can go back and look at it. There has been double inside days, but that just means that a powerful, powerful move is going to happen, and we want to be ready for it. We still have a rising wedge pattern, the bigger one, the smaller one, right? The smaller one, you can see that we tapped it here on the 1st of May, and then we're getting very, very close to this bottom, the bottom upward trend line, right? That's probably around 409, 408, maybe 409.5. Really depends on what time of the day hits this at, right? The later, the higher it is and whatnot. So that's what I want us to focus on in terms of this. We have this neckline here for what we're looking forward to potentially hit and then reject. We also have a gap here at what is that number? 419.96 to 421.22. And then we have another gap here on the downside from 407.27 to 408.64. Again, like I said, we are a double inside day. The other thing to take notice of is that the clouds are still bullish. So they're still acting as support. I believe that SPY today actually bounced off the 21 EMA on the daily time frame. So I just removed all my data points, and you can still see that we are still double inside day, right? Inside bar of this one, it missed it just by literally by pennies, right? This one, this candle here, which is Monday, is still contained with Friday. So double inside day on the mother bar here. So that's what I really wanted to point out on that aspect. So now we're going to go back and look at the data at a smaller time frame so that you can see all my key points, my levels and whatnot. So at this point, if you've been following me on Twitter or if you've been following me on YouTube, you should kind of know how I mark some of these off. Not all, a lot of these you still are not going to know. And you know, that's another video for another time. Let's just really just focus on what you see on your screen. Again, these are the gaps, right? So you can pause the screen for right now. So the bottom gaps I already pointed out, 407.27 to 408.64. This is the neckline. And then the top gap, right? Top gap is 419.96 to 421.22. So pause the screen and mark that off. And now we have our levels, right? So you can see the months, weeks, and daily. So again, pause the screen, mark these down on your own charts. I can assure you that these have a lot of relevance and they affect the way that the charts move. Let's take instance. This 412.32 has not changed from yesterday, right? It's still very valid. You can see right here at 12:30, we literally hit that line and then we rejected. You can see that was the start of the downturn, right? It chop, 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 but still that was started down here. If you would have gotten here, your stop could have been at this point, and you would never got stopped out. So if you're playing commons or futures, you would have made a killing on this, right? So it's 412.32 all the way down to 410.23, right? So $2 move. Obviously, if you're in options, if you're in zero DTE, a little bit different story. But if you got some time on your contracts, you would have been good. So again, just mark these levels off. And then we will see what happens tomorrow. So like I said, we literally missed this by fractions of a cent. It's crazy. At the end of the day, when the market closed, SPY made a very decent rebound, right? It went down as low as 409.98, ended up closing around 410, 410.81. So almost entire dollar move. And futures is actually up tonight, a little bit higher than where it closed. So if futures can hold, then we can see SPY probably opening around like 411, maybe 411.25. I'm actually, based on what I see, it appears that futures wants to make a move up tonight. That's what I'm seeing. Could be wrong, but from way that is playing out and just the way the price acted, could be setting up for a move back to the midpoint of today's price action. But nonetheless, if you look at the 30 minutes, we did flip earlier today, right? We flipped in pre-market. Let's go to the 4 hours and see where we're at. So one thing to note is that the 4 hours we are overextended to the downside, right? It started to flip today in terms of the clouds, right? The 8 crossed 21 and I think 34. So it's actually flipping now. So that's a sign that we might start flipping. 1 hour already flipped in terms of the clouds. And then 12 hours, I believe, the 8, it's hard to see. I can try to zoom in, but it's hard to see. The 8 The 8 is looks like it's about to cross the 21. It's not crossed yet, but it's about to. So just something else to keep a note of. So let's go back to 30 minutes so that we can see the data a little bit more. So like I said, right, the clouds are starting bearish. Time frame continuity is to the downside right now, from the daily into the 15 minutes. All that means is that on those time frames, our sellers are in control. Does not mean that you can automatically just get in the short and expect to be in a winning position. It just means that you have a higher probability to short the market when opportunity presents itself, and if you're trying to long it, it's a little bit riskier. That's what that means. Again, like I said, futures is running a little bit tonight. What I'd be expecting, honestly, if we are if we cannot get above what you see here as a 50% for the daily and the weekly tomorrow, and that is off. That's not 83. That is 53. There we go. So if we cannot get above this tomorrow, I actually be looking for a rejection back down the downside to take out today's low and also Monday's low. Again, they're not off. They're literally off by 1 or 2 cents. I am expecting a low for tomorrow. I think the setup is actually we actually have a supposed to be a 212, right, or 312, I should say. Yeah, 312 to the downside, but this was a 1, so it's still a 311. So still looking for a potential downside move tomorrow, but then we're gonna probably hit this 50% of the month, and then we're probably gonna hit this trend line, and then eventually make our way back up. So I do believe we'll make a 2 down tomorrow, based on the way the data is setting up, and then we'll probably make a rejection and make it a fill 2 down, and to play with this wedge a little bit more before the actual break to one side comes. So that's what it looks like it's gonna be. Futures probably get pushed up, get attempt this 50%, fail, come back down, hit this trend line, and then come back up. But we'll see. We'll see, right? Does not actually mean this is just analyzing what price is showing us and what it's doing. But let's kind of just look at the quad real quick, right? So what you see on your screen right now is going to be Microsoft. We actually had a double inside as well. This was a 2 down, double inside, and then we made a 2 up. So it's a 1-2. I'm expecting maybe a 1-2-2 to the downside just because it's inverted hammer, so that the sellers were here and pushed down. But we have the EMA clouds here, so I don't expect much of a strong movement without a fight for Microsoft, right? So if Microsoft does go down, that means it pulls SPY down. We still do have this gap here, okay? Keep that in mind. So again, not get a deep dive crazy into it. We still have our patterns. We have this neckline, right? Head and inverse head and shoulders, shoulder, head, eventually reject, come back down, hit this gap, form the rest of the shoulders, right? Let's look at, that was Microsoft. Let's look at Apple real quick. Apple, same thing, right? We have a double inside bar, right? There's 2 down, inside, but this is a gravestone doji, right? So that just means that the sellers are here, but usually what that means is that probably price will push up to a certain point and then hit a supply zone and then come back down. Right? Look, it pretty much bounced off the EMA here, and we do have a gap here as well on Apple. So let's just see what it does, but it looks like it's setting up for a 2-1-2 to the downside tomorrow. Again, if that happens, then that means that SPY will come down. Let's look at Amazon, right? Amazon is is a little bit more cleaner setup for in terms of where we think it can go. Again, on the gap. So everything I'm pointing out so far has a gap, right, to the downside. So on Amazon, we had a two down and we had a two up today. But we are overextended on the clouds. This was it's not a field two up. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely not a field two up. This was a solid two up. Just sellers came in and tried to push it back down to do some damage control. So we do have a 222 to the downside. Bearish Randy Jackson. Would love to take it back down to this 109, 109.75 tomorrow. Again, really depends on what futures does, right? If it goes up a little bit tonight, then we can see Amazon potentially going back up a little bit as well. Again, look right here. We pretty much hit this neckline that we formed. This is the order blocks, right? So went up that high today and then rejected, got hit the blocks or hit the orders, and then came back down. So we will see if it's gonna. It's not gonna do this, right? I don't expect this, right? This was because of earnings and then just plummeted, right? That'd be awesome if it did, but I do think that based on the way price is setting up, that we potentially could be making another attempt downside. Let's look at Google real quick. Google, our friend, man. We shorted this today. We were up, for a small portion of this play. Nothing big. Maybe 5%. Didn't take it. Expecting to go a little bit more. It ran against us, and they were for 2 weeks. I could be honest. I could have held them just because it could have been a chance, but I was not in any position heavy on this. I took several contracts for very minimal risk, and then I set a stop loss for pretty much 20% of the play, and then got stopped out for 20% loss on that, right? But that's okay because, like I said, I went smaller on this, and then I went heavy on futures, which many of you probably seen the profit, so it didn't matter for the loss on this. But again, that's part of the plan, right? You act according to your plan, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't. And if it doesn't work out, you need to have a plan. The biggest thing to take away from this is that we had this rising wedge that I drew out, and we broke out of that, right? We broke out of it on Thursday last week, again on Friday, and then Monday. But every time we broke out of it, we rejected and came back in, so it was a false breakout. Today, we broke out and closed above it. So what we are looking at is the fact that we also hit this supply zone, right? This order block, and this is that for that inverse head and shoulder, right? Shoulder, head. So tomorrow, this is potentially this was a 3-2, right? So 3-2. So we're looking for a 3-2-2 setup tomorrow, possibly a 3-2-2 down. We rejected off this order block, supply zone, liquidity. We might be coming back down to test this trend line and potentially go back down into the gap that was created here. We are also overextended, right? Just a word of caution for this one, right? Google is primed and set up to do a pullback. However, I want to bring back the classic example of NVIDIA, NVDA, however the hell you want to pronounce it, right? I hear so many people pronounce it differently, and we all know what we're talking about, the big chip maker. This is very similar to that in the essence that, it gapped up like crazy, was overextended against the EMA clouds. It was running up against trend lines, supply zones, order blocks, liquidity, but it just kept running, right? It didn't care. It just kept running. It just blew past them. So there was enough people interested in on the buy side, long side, that it just kept running. So, like I said, Google is set up to make a pullback, but with the fact that AI is very hot right now and Google being very well positioned in that market, it just seems like they may continue to make a run. But like I said, be looking for another potential entry. But like I said, 3-2-2 down. Everything I talked about tonight with the SPY, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, right? We're all looking like it's setting up for a 2 down tomorrow, right? But again, everything's going to be depending on futures, what happens to the London Open tonight, and then we'll see from there. But if that is the case, then SPY will come down tomorrow. Again, don't expect big move without having some turbulence on the side. But the best thing is that tomorrow there's no big economic event except for 8:30. But after that, it's pretty much going to be pure price action. So we should have a little bit cleaner moves today as opposed to, or tomorrow, I should say, as opposed to today. Today, there was two good solid moves within the first 30 to 60 minutes, and then the rest of the day was just pretty much garbage. And then we had the end of the day flush. So anyway, that is what I'm looking at for tomorrow. Again, like I said, I'm going back to this chart, expecting if futures hold and continue to move up. This goes to 411.2, 411 to 411.2. And then hopefully we see it maintain that to the open market and attempt to break the 50%. If we can't break the 50%, I'm playing to the downside. I'll play to the low of today, because at that point, I think that would be the sign for the sellers to say, look, there's weakness on the buy side. Let's take out the low side, sell side liquidity, and then buyers will probably step in. Anyway, thank you again for listening. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, follow the Twitter. That we keep it live every single day. We give out great stuff. Everything's free. Just continue to support this community and what I do, and we continue to do this stuff. Thanks. Bye.